The morning sun had just begun to filter through the leafy suburban streets of Maplewood, a quiet town in the United States where life moved at a gentle pace. Lawns were neatly trimmed, mailboxes lined up like soldiers, and neighbors waved as children biked past. It was in this seemingly ordinary neighborhood that 3-year-old Liam O'Connor was about to turn an ordinary morning into a memory that would ripple far beyond his family. Liam's mother, Claire, was busy unpacking groceries after a quick trip to the local market. The warm scent of fresh bread mingled with the faint aroma of coffee still lingering in the bag. Liam, however, had a mischievous streak that no one could contain, even at 3 years old. He squirmed out of his mother's arms for the 10th time that morning, toddling across the driveway with a determination that only toddlers possess. His curly hair bounced, and his tiny shoes scuffed the concrete as he disappeared behind a large oak tree. "Liam, Liam, come back here," Claire called, panic threading her voice. She rushed to the driveway, heart hammering in her chest. Her arms were empty, and the realization hit her in an instant he was gone. Gone from the driveway, gone from sight, and most terrifyingly, gone without warning. Claire's voice rose in desperation. "Liam, please." Neighbors, drawn by the frantic cries, peeked through their windows, concern etched on every face. A sense of dread filled the air, sharp and heavy. She ran across the yard, scanning every corner, every bush, every shadow. Her mind raced. Where could he have gone? Was he near the street? Did he fall somewhere? The first neighbor she spotted, Mr. Reynolds from 2 houses down, immediately dialed 911 at her urging. "We need help, my son. He's gone." Claire's voice trembled as she repeated his name. The operator's calm tone contrasted sharply with the storm of fear raging in her chest. Officers were dispatched immediately, and within minutes, 2 patrol cars rolled into the neighborhood, lights flashing but engines quiet, urgency evident in every movement. Among the responding officers was Sergeant Daniels, a veteran of the local force, who had seen many emergencies, but few quite like this. He quickly assessed the situation, noting the chaos in the yard, the distraught mother, and the small footprints trailing into the nearby park. "We need the K9 unit," he called over the radio. Within moments, the familiar sound of a second vehicle arrived, carrying Rex, a seasoned German shepherd trained in search and rescue operations. Rex, fully alert, leapt out of the car with controlled energy. His coat shone under the morning sun, muscles coiled and ready. Sergeant Daniels crouched to give him a quick pat, whispering commands. The dog sniffed the air, ears twitching, tail flicking with anticipation. Liam's scent was faint but distinct, and Rex immediately honed in, nose to the ground, paws moving with a practiced precision. Claire followed behind, tears streaming down her face. Each step felt endless, each moment stretching into agony. The neighbors had gathered, some holding their own children tightly, some silently offering prayers. The search began, slow at first, moving from the driveway into the park, winding between trees and playground equipment, past scattered benches and overgrown shrubs. Rex led confidently, occasionally glancing back to ensure his human team was keeping up. Minutes felt like hours as they pressed on. Liam's small, frightened cries began to mingle with the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of morning traffic. Rex's head snapped up suddenly, ears alert, signaling he had picked up the strongest part of the trail. Sergeant Daniels motioned the officers to follow more closely. The dog bounded ahead, agile over obstacles, weaving past tree roots and fallen branches. His instincts were unerring, each step guided by experience honed over years of service. And then, there he was, Liam, perched precariously near the edge of a shallow creek, shoes muddy, tiny fingers clutching at reeds for balance. The boy's eyes were wide, cheeks streaked with tears, but he was unharmed. Liam!" Claire cried, relief breaking through fear like sunlight through storm clouds. She ran forward, arms outstretched, ready to scoop him up. Rex slowed as Liam approached, tail wagging gently, nudging the boy's hand with his nose. It was a tender moment, a pause in the chaos. And then, to everyone's astonishment, Liam whispered something small, incomprehensible words that sounded like baby talk. Rex's ears twitched. His head tilted in recognition. It was subtle, almost imperceptible to the casual observer, but the bond between boy and dog was undeniable. The child's tiny voice, innocent and earnest, seemed to be understood. Sergeant Daniels and the officers exchanged glances, skepticism mingling with awe. Rex responded with careful movements, a paw lifted, a bark perfectly timed, almost conversational. It was as if the boy and dog were communicating in a language only they could understand. Claire knelt beside her son, marveling at the display, unsure whether to laugh or cry. The neighbors who had gathered watched in stunned silence, some whispering, "Did he just talk to the dog?" Liam giggled, brushing the dog's fur with tiny hands. Rex responded with a gentle nudge, as if acknowledging the words. It was a moment of pure magic, a connection beyond words, beyond explanation. The officers carefully guided them back toward the driveway, ensuring Liam's safety, but the extraordinary interaction lingered in everyone's mind. By the time Liam was safely back in his mother's arms, the story had already begun to take shape in the minds of those present. The local officers noted the unusual bond, secretly recording snippets of the encounter. Claire held Liam tightly, heart still racing, whispering reassurances, while Rex sat obediently nearby, alert but calm. For Liam, it had been an adventure, but for the adults, it was something more, a glimpse of a connection that defied expectation. As the day unfolded, neighbors shared the story, phones were pulled from pockets, and within hours, the first videos circulated online. Social media buzzed with astonishment. A toddler had wandered off. A police dog had found him. And somehow, inexplicably, they had communicated. Scientists, dog enthusiasts, and curious parents debated. Was this instinct, training, or something extraordinary? And in the quiet aftermath, as the sun climbed higher, Claire held Liam close and whispered a simple truth she could feel in her bones. Some bonds are beyond words, beyond reason, and in that morning's terror, a connection had blossomed that would soon astonish the entire nation. The moment Liam was safely back in his mother's arms, the adrenaline began to subside, but the officer's work was far from over. Sergeant Daniels remained vigilant, his eyes scanning the surrounding park and creek area, ensuring there was no further danger. Even though Liam was unharmed, the incident had revealed the fragile thread by which children's safety hung. The neighbors, still gathered around the edge of the park, murmured among themselves, replaying the scene in disbelief. How had a 3-year-old and a dog, just a dog, managed to navigate the chaos together? Rex, the canine unit, remained at attention. The seasoned German Shepherd, with years of search and rescue missions under his collar, was more than a trained animal. He was an instinctual living radar of life and danger. Every movement, from the slight lift of his paw to the tilt of his ears, was deliberate. He sniffed the ground, then paused, as if to confirm that his young companion was safe and nothing else lurked nearby. Liam, still trembling slightly, reached out to Rex, resting his tiny hands on the dog's strong back. "You okay, buddy?" Sergeant Daniels asked softly, kneeling a few feet away. Liam's gaze stayed locked on Rex, ignoring the officer. He babbled in baby talk, something no adult could decipher, yet Rex seemed to respond in kind. A low, gentle bark escaped the dog's throat, and he nudged the boy toward his mother, almost as if encouraging her to take over. The officers exchanged puzzled glances. They had trained Rex for countless rescue operations, but no training could explain the seeming conversation between toddler and dog. Claire cradled Liam tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Relief mingled with awe, and she whispered softly, "You're safe now. You're okay." Liam, however, was already partially distracted, reaching out again to Rex as if seeking guidance or comfort. His tiny fingers brushed the dog's fur, and he whispered another string of baby syllables. The officers leaned in, closer, hearts pounding, as Rex's behavior became even more remarkable. He lifted a paw, barked twice, and nudged Liam toward the park bench, directing attention to something small and overlooked in the grass. Sergeant Daniels knelt down to examine the spot. There, partially hidden beneath a bush, was Liam's missing toy, a small stuffed bear that had somehow fallen from his grasp earlier. The officers stared, a mix of astonishment and quiet amusement on their faces. The dog had not only found the boy, but had guided attention to his lost toy in a way that suggested comprehension beyond training. "Unbelievable," Daniels muttered, shaking his head. Claire smiled through tears, realizing that Rex's instincts had provided both practical rescue and comfort. Neighbors lingered, whispering and snapping pictures. The entire scene seemed surreal, almost cinematic in its clarity. A 3-year-old child, frightened but brave, communicating in his own language with a police dog that responded with intelligence and care. It was a tableau that defied explanation. The officers, professionals hardened by years of emergencies, felt a rare sense of awe. Nothing in their manuals or training sessions had prepared them for this, the tangible, visible bond forming between human and animal in real time. Once Liam was back in his mother's arms, Sergeant Daniels gently guided Claire aside. "Ma'am, would you mind if we took some photos and video? For records and training purposes?" Claire hesitated, but saw no harm, and with a shaky nod, she allowed it. As the officers began recording, Liam again leaned toward Rex, pointing at different objects and babbling. Rex tilted his head, pawed at spots near Liam's gestures, and barked lightly. It wasn't chaotic. It was a strange rhythm, a dialogue that seemed to unfold organically. "Is he understanding him?" asked Officer Ramirez, his voice low, betraying disbelief. Daniels shook his head slowly. "I've worked with Rex for 6 years. Never seen anything like this. Never. This is something else." The officers continued documenting the interaction, noting how Liam's gestures appeared to elicit specific reactions from the dog. Each movement, each sound seemed to convey intent, not randomness. Even Claire watched, mesmerized, as her son engaged with Rex in a way she had never seen before. News of the rescue quickly began spreading beyond the neighborhood. An officer uploaded a short clip internally, and by evening, the footage had begun circulating online. Comments poured in, disbelief, admiration, and curiosity. People wondered if the bond was purely instinctual or something extraordinary. Social media erupted with speculation. Some called it miraculous. Others dubbed it a language only Liam and Rex could understand. The video caught the attention of local news channels, which scheduled interviews for the following day. Meanwhile, Liam remained oblivious to the attention he was drawing. To him, Rex was a source of comfort, a constant in a confusing world that had suddenly seemed frightening. He babbled happily, pointing and giggling, while Rex responded with gentle nudges, barks, and paw lifts. Officers observed quietly, noting how the dog's actions were not merely responsive, but seemingly intentional, directing attention, guiding movement, and providing reassurance. It was the perfect blend of instinct, training, and perhaps something more, a connection forged in the raw simplicity of trust and empathy. Claire, finally catching her breath, knelt beside her son, stroking his hair. "You are so brave," she whispered, though her voice shook with emotion. Liam giggled, pointing to Rex as if to say, "He helped me." The dog responded with a slow, deliberate wag of the tail, resting his head against Liam's tiny shoulder. The officer's admiration grew with every second. It wasn't just a successful rescue. It was a display of something remarkable, something that transcended words, and perhaps hinted at the extraordinary possibilities of human-animal communication. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the neighborhood settled into a mix of awe and relief. Liam was safe. Rex had performed impeccably, and Claire finally allowed herself to exhale fully. Yet, everyone involved knew this was no ordinary incident. The bond displayed between child and dog hinted at a story far larger than a simple missing child rescue. It was the beginning of something that would soon capture the attention of a courtroom, the media, and the nation at large. And as Liam hugged Rex one last time before heading home, the dog's ears perked, his gaze unwavering. It was a silent promise. They had shared something extraordinary, something that no one could easily explain, but everyone would remember. A 3-year-old and a police dog had connected in a way that defied logic, bridging fear, instinct, and trust. In Maplewood that morning, ordinary life had collided with the miraculous, and no one present would ever forget it. The morning sun had fully risen over Maplewood, but inside the modest police station, a different kind of tension filled the air. Liam and his mother Claire had arrived to thank the officers formally and to provide statements about the incident. The station smelled faintly of coffee, paper, and the lingering scent of canine shampoo, mixture familiar to those who worked alongside police dogs every day. It was here that the extraordinary bond between Liam and Rex would truly begin to reveal itself, capturing the attention of everyone present. Sergeant Daniels led them into the small interview room. It was cozy, fluorescent lit, with a table scratched from years of paperwork and interviews. The officers had already prepped Rex, who sat obediently near the door, ears perked, alert yet calm. Liam, still gripping his mother's hand, looked around the room curiously. Though he had just survived a terrifying ordeal, he seemed unusually calm in the presence of the dog. His tiny fingers brushed against Rex's fur, a gesture of comfort as much as connection. "Go on," Daniels said to Liam gently, motioning toward Rex. "Say hi, buddy." The toddler blinked, then leaned toward the dog, babbling in his own mixture of baby talk and improvised words. To any ordinary observer, it would have seemed like incoherent nonsense, mere toddler chatter. But Rex responded in ways that defied expectation. He barked softly, tilted his head in perfect synchronization with Liam's gestures, and even pawed at the floor near spots Liam seemed to indicate. Officer Ramirez, who had watched countless canine demonstrations over his career, whispered, "He's responding to him. Really responding." Daniels nodded, equally stunned. They had trained Rex to follow commands, to sniff out people, and to perform tasks in emergencies, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Liam's words weren't commands, they were gestures, baby talk, instincts, yet Rex acted as if he understood every one. It was as if the boy and dog shared a secret language, invisible to anyone else. Claire watched, eyes wide, heart pounding. "He's talking to him," she whispered, almost afraid to fully grasp the situation. Liam babbled, pointing toward a small stack of papers on the table. Rex, with uncanny precision, pawed near the documents and barked lightly. Daniels carefully lifted a few of the papers and noticed a crucial detail. One of the incident reports had been overlooked during the initial investigation, a detail that, while minor, helped clarify exactly where Liam had wandered and why he had slipped through the neighborhood unnoticed. The officer's jaws dropped. Not only had Rex found Liam, but he was now guiding attention to specific relevant information. It was unprecedented. The small room felt charged, almost electric, as Liam continued to babble and gesture. Rex responded with a rhythm that seemed intentional. A head tilt, a paw on the table, a gentle nudge. Every reaction corresponded to a subtle movement from Liam. No one could deny the intelligence being displayed. The footage from this session, already recording on a police tablet, would soon become a point of fascination far beyond Maplewood. As Liam continued interacting with Rex, Sergeant Daniels crouched nearby, taking careful notes. He had trained many canines south over his career, and while he knew instinct and bonding were part of the work, this was something entirely different. Liam's gestures were precise, his gaze unwavering, and Rex's reactions were deliberate, almost as if they were coordinating a dance. Claire, holding back tears, whispered softly to her son, "You're amazing, Liam. Do you know that?" Liam responded with a giggle, reaching out to pat Rex's head, utterly unconcerned with the attention he was drawing. Officer Ramirez, recording on his phone, leaned toward Daniels. "We need to get this on a secure server. The public is going to want to see this. And honestly, I don't even know what to call it. It's not just training. It's not just instinct. It's something else." Daniels nodded, silent for a moment, eyes fixed on the pair. He had witnessed countless heroic acts, but the synchronicity between a 3-year-old and a police dog was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was mesmerizing, humbling, and in a way, profoundly moving. By mid-morning, word of the interaction had already spread through the local precinct. Officers stopped by the room in quiet awe, some whispering, others pointing discreetly at the tablet screen to get a closer look at the footage. "This is incredible," one muttered. "I've never seen a canine respond like that." The room, usually filled with procedural routine and paperwork, had become an impromptu demonstration of something miraculous. The simple act of a toddler speaking to a dog had revealed a depth of intelligence, trust, and connection that seemed almost impossible to quantify. Claire, finally catching her breath, watched her son lean against Rex, babbling quietly and laughing. There was no fear now, only trust and familiarity. She realized the dog was not merely performing trained behaviors. He was reacting to Liam in a way that suggested understanding. "It's like they're talking," she whispered to Daniels. The officer nodded solemnly. "Maybe they are," he replied. "Just not in a language we can understand." The session continued for nearly an hour, with Liam gesturing, pointing, and babbling, and Rex responding with precision. The small room felt alive with energy. Every officer present was captivated, unable to look away. Liam's natural curiosity seemed to guide Rex in small, deliberate ways, pawing at documents, tilting his head, indicating objects, and even showing recognition of where he had been rescued from. Claire marveled at the display, understanding that something extraordinary had occurred. Her child, just 3 years old, had connected with a dog in a way that defied normal explanation. As the session drew to a close, Daniels finally said, "All right, buddy. Time to let the grown-ups do their paperwork." Liam pouted, but Rex nudged him gently, acknowledging the boy's participation and signaling that the session was over. Claire picked him up, hugging him close. "You were amazing," she whispered again. Liam giggled, patting Rex one last time before being lifted into his mother's arms. Unbeknownst to them, this seemingly ordinary visit to the station would become the catalyst for nationwide attention. The footage, already secure in the department's records, would soon be studied by K-9 experts, child psychologists, and media outlets. It wasn't just a story of a missing child rescued. It was the story of a unique, almost miraculous bond that had emerged under extraordinary circumstances. The quiet station, with its hum of fluorescent lights and faint scent of coffee, had become the stage for something truly remarkable. As Claire carried Liam out into the sunlight, Rex following obediently at her side, the officers exchanged silent glances, knowing that the world outside would soon want to witness what they had just seen. A 3-year-old boy had spoken to a police dog, and in response, the dog had communicated back, bridging the gap between instinct and understanding. Maplewood would never forget this morning, and neither would the world. Weeks had passed since the extraordinary rescue in Maplewood, yet the story of Liam and Rex had grown far beyond the quiet suburban streets. News outlets had caught wind of the footage from the police station, and social media erupted with videos of a 3-year-old seemingly communicating with a seasoned K-9 experts in child development, animal behavior, and even linguistics debated the phenomenon, offering theories ranging from instinctive interaction to something more inexplicable. But amid the buzz, a legal matter had emerged, a minor negligence case concerning the neighborhood park's fencing, and now the O'Connors found themselves summoned to a courtroom. Claire clutched Liam's hand as she stepped into the grand, wood-paneled courtroom, sunlight filtering through tall windows. The room buzzed with subdued whispers as lawyers shuffled papers, reporters set up cameras, and spectators found their seats. At the front, the judge, an experienced woman known for her fairness and patience, presided over the proceedings. She raised her eyes briefly from the docket and noticed a large, calm German shepherd sitting quietly near the corner. Rex. The courtroom fell silent when the canine's presence was explained. Usually, service animals were confined to outside areas, but this case was unusual. The judge, curious about reports of Liam's interaction with Rex, allowed the dog inside the chamber. "Let's see what happens," she murmured under her breath, intrigued by the possibility. Officers positioned themselves nearby, ready to ensure both Liam and Rex were safe, but also aware that this was no ordinary courtroom session. Something remarkable was about to unfold. Liam, still small in his mother's arms, surveyed the courtroom with wide, innocent eyes. He seemed unbothered by the formal proceedings, more focused on Rex, who sat obediently by his side. Claire whispered reassurances, adjusting Liam's tiny coat, but even she could sense the electric anticipation in the air. Reporters lifted cameras discreetly. Jurors shifted in their seats, and attorneys exchanged skeptical glances. None had seen a scenario quite like this. A toddler, a dog, and the courtroom stage waiting for an unexpected act of communication. The first witness was a local park official who provided testimony about the fencing and prior incidents of children wandering. Statements were delivered in standard legal fashion, dry and procedural, until the attention turned to Liam. The mother stood at the edge of the witness area, holding him carefully. "Your Honor," the defense attorney began cautiously, "we'd like to introduce a demonstration of the incident as it occurred, with Rex present." The judge's eyebrows rose. "Proceed," she said, curiosity tempered with caution. The room held its collective breath. Claire knelt slightly, setting Liam on the floor near Rex. The toddler immediately crawled toward the dog, gripping his fur gently, and began babbling in the same soft, incomprehensible language that had captivated officers weeks earlier. The audience leaned in, skeptical but mesmerized. Rex's response was deliberate. A tilt of the head, a soft bark, and a paw lightly placed near a piece of evidence on the floor, minor report that had been overlooked during the initial investigation. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The dog wasn't merely following commands. He was actively responding to the child. The judge, initially composed, leaned forward with a look of intrigue. "What is he doing?" she asked, half to herself. Daniels, standing discreetly to the side, explained quietly, "Your Honor, Rex is reacting to Liam's cues." The child's gestures and babbling appeared to direct the dog toward specific items relevant to the case. "It's extraordinary, yes, but it's happening right before our eyes." The courtroom murmured again, disbelief and awe mingling in the air. Even hardened attorneys paused, unsure of how to proceed. Liam continued, pointing and babbling, occasionally clapping his small hands. Rex followed every gesture, nudging objects, tilting his head at points of interest, even indicating the location of Liam's previous wanderings within the park. The courtroom audience watched, captivated by the unexpected demonstration. Claire's heart raced as she realized that this was more than a toddler playing with a dog. It was a display of understanding, instinct, and perhaps something almost miraculous. The bond between child and canine had transformed a legal proceeding into a moment of awe. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, camera lenses capturing every second. Jurors leaned forward, eyes wide, watching a scene that defied conventional courtroom norms. Liam's gestures were unstudied, innocent, yet precise, and Rex's responses were calculated, deliberate, and unmistakably intentional. The rhythm between the two created a dialogue that transcended words, leaving everyone present astonished. Spectators whispered quietly, some murmuring, "I've never seen anything like this," while others simply sat in stunned silence. At one point, Liam toddled toward a corner where the original missing child report had been filed incorrectly. He pointed at the stack, babbled, and clapped his hands. Rex approached, pawed at the papers, and barked softly. The judge signaled the attorneys to examine the evidence. Slowly, they realized that Liam's unintentional guidance, combined with Rex's instincts, highlighted a critical oversight, a detail that clarified exactly how and why Liam had wandered so far. The courtroom gasped in collective astonishment. A 3-year-old and a dog had effectively contributed to resolving a legal matter. The defense attorney, initially skeptical, exchanged glances with the plaintiff's counsel. Both understood the significance. The demonstration was undeniable. Even if the language between child and dog remained incomprehensible, the results were visible and factual. Items were pointed out, evidence was clarified, and the chain of events from the day of the disappearance became unmistakably clear. The courtroom, normally a place of rigid procedure, had transformed into a stage for something remarkable, a testament to trust, instinct, and the extraordinary bond between human and animal. As the demonstration concluded, Liam crawled back into his mother's arms, giggling and patting Rex one last time. Rex sat calmly, ears alert, tail wagging gently, as if satisfied that his task was complete. The judge, leaning back in her chair, allowed a rare smile to cross her face. "I've seen many things in this courtroom," she said quietly, "but never anything like this." Reporters scribbled notes. Jurors whispered among themselves. And Claire hugged her son tightly, both proud and amazed. Outside the courtroom, cameras captured the moment, and social media buzzed with anticipation. News outlets would describe it as the day a toddler spoke to a police dog in court. Experts would analyze the footage for weeks, debating the science, the instinct, and the almost magical communication that had occurred. And within the courtroom, for those who witnessed it firsthand, it was clear Liam and Rex had achieved something extraordinary. As the session concluded for the day, Daniels knelt beside Claire and Liam, whispering, "You too. You're amazing. Really amazing." Liam giggled, patting Rex on the head, while the dog nudged him gently, as if acknowledging the praise. Claire felt a swell of pride and awe. Her son had not only survived a terrifying incident, but had, in his innocent way, helped illuminate a story that would inspire countless others. That day, Maplewood's small courtroom became the epicenter of something larger than life. A 3-year-old had connected with a dog in a way that no one fully understood, yet the results were indisputable. Trust, instinct, and innocence had combined to create a moment of wonder, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. As Liam left the courtroom, clutching his mother's hand and waving at Rex, it was clear this was only the beginning of a story that would capture hearts nationwide. The courtroom was silent, charged with attention that hung heavy in the air. Reporters, lawyers, jurors, and spectators all leaned forward, eyes fixed on the small figure in the center of the chamber. Liam, only 3 years old, crawled toward Rex with a sense of familiarity and trust that seemed almost unreal. His tiny hands rested on the dog's fur, his baby voice babbling words that no adult could fully decipher. And yet, Rex responded not as a trained animal following commands, but as a partner, a companion, an intelligent being attuned to the child's every signal. The interaction began subtly, almost imperceptibly. Liam pointed toward a stack of documents on the table, babbled softly, and clapped his hands. Rex, head tilted, pawed deliberately at the papers and barked lightly, as if acknowledging the boy's instructions. The audience gasped, unsure whether to believe their eyes. What they were witnessing defied logic. A toddler and a dog communicating, coordinating, and even solving problems together. Lawyers exchanged incredulous glances, while the judge leaned forward, utterly captivated. Claire watched, holding her breath. Her son, once frightened and vulnerable, now exuded confidence in the presence of Rex. He babbled more animatedly, pointing toward a map of the park where he had wandered weeks earlier. Rex responded with a series of barks and precise movements, guiding the officers and court officials toward the locations Liam indicated. The synergy between child and dog was mesmerizing. It was not random behavior. It was purposeful, deliberate, and astonishingly intelligent. Officer Ramirez, standing at the edge of the room, whispered to Daniels, "This is unreal. I've seen dogs do amazing things, but this is on another level." Daniels nodded, equally awestruck. "It's more than training. It's instinct and understanding combined. He's reading the kid, and the kid? He's guiding him." The officers continued documenting every movement, every gesture, knowing that what they were witnessing was extraordinary. The footage would later be analyzed by experts nationwide, but for now, the moment itself was enough to leave everyone in stunned silence. Liam's gestures became more animated. He pointed toward the evidence table again, then toward the edge of the courtroom, where a small bag had been overlooked. Rex moved deliberately, pawing at the bag and nudging it closer to the judge's bench. The attorneys and clerks exchanged shocked glances. A detail that had been missed for weeks was now highlighted, not by adult reasoning or forensic evidence, but by the intuitive interaction of a toddler and a canine. The room seemed to hold its collective breath, witnessing something that blurred the lines between instinct, intelligence, and an almost magical bond. As Liam babbled and clapped, Rex responded with unwavering focus. He tilted his head, pawed, and even barked softly in rhythm with the boy's gestures. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She had never seen such a display of understanding. She whispered to her son, "You're amazing, Liam," and he giggled, patting Rex gently. The bond between the two was undeniable, silent conversation that only they could comprehend. Yet the impact was visible to all. Every movement, every response, carried meaning, and every spectator could sense it. The judge, leaning forward on her bench, spoke softly, almost to herself. "I've presided over hundreds of cases, but I've never seen anything like this." Her words barely registered as she watched Liam point toward another set of documents. Rex responded, pawing and nudging with precision, directing attention to critical information. The attorneys, who had initially been skeptical, now exchanged glances of astonishment. The child's gestures, interpreted through the dog's instinct and training, had highlighted overlooked evidence, clarified timelines, and even indicated key locations relevant to the case. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, capturing every moment for the cameras. Social media would explode with the footage later, but for now, the courtroom remained suspended in a rare moment of awe. Spectators whispered in hushed tones, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or remain silent. The synergy between Liam and Rex transcended conventional understanding, a living demonstration of trust, intuition, and empathy. It was as if the toddler and the dog were partners in a dance that no adult could choreograph. At one point, Liam pointed toward a small filing cabinet near the back of the courtroom. Rex approached, carefully pawed at the drawers, and barked. The clerk opened a drawer to reveal a piece of evidence that had been misfiled, a minor detail, yet one that clarified a sequence of events that had initially caused confusion in the investigation. The audience gasped again. It was not luck. It was deliberate, informed, and coordinated action. A 3-year-old had guided a police dog to uncover information that adults had overlooked. Claire's chest swelled with pride. Her son, once so small and vulnerable, had demonstrated courage, focus, and intuition that left everyone in awe. Liam, oblivious to the attention, simply giggled and babbled, leaning against Rex's side. The dog remained calm, alert, and responsive, never faltering in his attention to the child. Officers whispered to each other, amazed at the display of connection. "I've never seen anything like it in my life," Ramirez muttered. Daniels nodded in agreement, silently recording every detail for future reference. The interaction continued for nearly 20 minutes, each second more astonishing than the last. Liam pointed, babbled, and gestured, while Rex responded with calculated movements and subtle cues. The courtroom witnessed a dialogue without words, a partnership born of trust and instinct. Jurors, reporters, and attorneys were captivated, unable to look away. Even the judge, stern and experienced, leaned forward, marveling at the coordination between child and dog. It was clear that what they were witnessing would be remembered for years to come. As the demonstration drew to a close, Liam crawled back into his mother's arms, patting Rex gently on the head. Rex remained seated, tail wagging softly, ears alert, a silent acknowledgement of the toddler's efforts. The judge, breaking the silence, allowed a rare smile. "I've seen many cases," she said, her voice steady, but filled with wonder. "But nothing quite like this. Extraordinary." The courtroom erupted in quiet applause, not only for Liam's bravery, but also for the remarkable bond between him and Rex. Claire hugged her son tightly, whispering words of praise. Liam giggled and patted Rex once more, completely unaware of the awe he had inspired. Officers and courtroom staff alike exchanged glances, realizing that this interaction had not only clarified evidence, but had also created a moment of genuine human and animal connection. In a world often divided by rules and procedures, Liam and Rex had reminded everyone that trust, empathy, and instinct could transcend logic and expectation. Outside the courtroom, cameras captured the moment, and social media buzzed with anticipation. News outlets would later dub it the day a toddler spoke to a police dog in court, and experts would analyze the footage for weeks, debating the science, instinct, and near-magical communication that had occurred. For those present, however, it was a simple, undeniable truth. A 3-year-old and a dog had spoken in a language beyond words, and the results were extraordinary. And as Claire lifted Liam from the floor, smiling through tears, Rex nudged the boy gently, ears alert, tail wagging. In that small, wood-paneled courtroom, an ordinary morning had transformed into a display of courage, intelligence, and connection that would be remembered far beyond Maplewood. A toddler had communicated with a dog had responded with understanding, and together they had created a moment of wonder, leaving everyone present stunned and inspired. The courtroom had settled into an almost surreal quiet after Liam's remarkable demonstration. Spectators and attorneys alike were still digesting the display of communication between the 3-year-old and the seasoned police dog, Rex. But what no one realized yet was that the interaction wasn't finished. Hidden within the ordinary documents, and overlooked evidence of the negligence case was a detail that could shift the entire outcome, something only Liam and Rex seemed capable of revealing. Sergeant Daniels and Officer Ramirez exchanged knowing glances. Both had witnessed countless investigations and searches, yet they recognized a rare phenomenon unfolding. The child and dog partnership was uncovering information that adults had missed. Daniels whispered, "Stay alert. He's not done yet." Claire, holding Liam close, followed as he crawled toward the far end of the courtroom, babbling in his soft, incomprehensible voice. The toddler's gestures were subtle yet precise, guiding Rex toward a specific area near the clerk's desk. Rex, attentive as ever, tilted his head, pawed delicately at the floor, and barked softly, a rhythm that seemed almost conversational. The dog's movements were deliberate, each action in sync with Liam's babbling and gestures. To any observer unfamiliar with their bond, it might have seemed accidental or random. But the officers watching closely knew better. This was an intentional search. Liam was directing Rex, and Rex was responding with precision, highlighting items that were significant to the case. Claire's heart raced as she watched. She had seen the bond between her son and Rex before, but this felt different. It wasn't just communication. It was discovery. Liam pointed toward a small stack of files near the clerk's corner. Rex approached, pawed at the edge of the papers, and barked in a soft, controlled rhythm. The clerk, slightly perplexed, opened the files and gasped. Inside was a report that had been overlooked, a note about a gap in the park's fencing, explaining how Liam had wandered so far that fateful morning. The attorneys leaned forward, scrutinizing the document. The defense attorney whispered urgently to the plaintiff's counsel. This was missing from the initial review. Both realized the significance. Liam's guidance and Rex's instincts had revealed a critical oversight in the evidence chain. The misplaced note, though seemingly minor, clarified the sequence of events and directly impacted the determination of negligence. The courtroom murmured in astonishment, recognizing the toddler and dog's role in uncovering this hidden clue. Liam continued, babbling softly and pointing toward another area of the clerk's desk. Rex responded immediately, pawing near a small envelope tucked behind paperwork. The judge, now fully engaged, watched closely as the envelope was carefully retrieved. Inside was a photograph showing a section of the park fence that had been improperly secured, a visual confirmation of the exact gap Liam had accidentally wandered through weeks earlier. The courtroom audience held its breath. What had begun as a missing child incident was now shaping the legal proceedings in real time. Officer Ramirez quietly whispered, "I can't believe what I'm seeing." He's pointing out evidence that no one else noticed. Daniels nodded solemnly. This is beyond training, beyond instinct. It's remarkable. The synergy between Liam and Rex was undeniable. Every gesture, every babble, every pawing movement revealed something that had been missed by adults, something that now carried tangible legal weight. Claire, holding her son tightly, felt a mixture of pride and awe. Her toddler had become an unexpected hero. The judge, fully aware of the significance, leaned forward on her bench. "This is extraordinary," she said, her voice steady but laced with amazement. "It appears that the child and the dog together have uncovered information vital to the proceedings." Spectators murmured in agreement. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, some capturing video footage on smartphones. The courtroom had transformed into a stage for an unprecedented display of communication, intuition, and discovery. A 3-year-old's innocence and a police dog's training had unveiled hidden facts that adults had overlooked. As Liam continued to interact with Rex, the officers observed a pattern emerging. He seemed to guide the dog systematically across the room, indicating specific items, documents, photographs, and small objects that held significance. Rex responded with unwavering focus, carefully pawing and nudging as directed. Each response was deliberate, coordinated, and precise. Claire whispered softly to her son, "You're helping everyone understand, Liam." He giggled, patting Rex's head, entirely unaware of the legal and public attention his actions were drawing. The hidden clues were now fully exposed. The stack of files, the envelope with photographs, and the previously overlooked note formed a chain that clarified how the incident had occurred. Attorneys reviewed the items quickly, nodding in realization. The defense attorney, initially skeptical of the demonstration, now acknowledged its undeniable relevance. "It seems we owe a great deal of thanks to this child and this dog," he murmured, almost incredulously. The courtroom had shifted from routine procedure to a scene of revelation, all orchestrated by an unlikely pair. Even the jurors, trained to observe evidence objectively, found themselves captivated. Their focus was no longer on technicalities alone, but on the profound partnership between Liam and Rex. Every gesture, every response, told a story that transcended words. The child's innocence combined with the dog's intelligence had uncovered a truth that might have remained hidden indefinitely. The courtroom atmosphere was charged with awe, anticipation, and disbelief. Claire's emotions swelled. She whispered, "I knew you were brave, Liam, but I never imagined this." Liam giggled, pointing once more at Rex, who responded with a gentle nudge, ears perked, tail wagging subtly. The partnership between toddler and dog had not only revealed critical evidence, but also reminded everyone present of the power of trust, intuition, and connection. The human-animal bond had become an undeniable force within the legal process. The judge nodded slowly, recognizing the impact of what had just unfolded. "This demonstration has provided clarity that was missing before," she said, her voice calm but filled with wonder. "It is extraordinary that such a small child and a trained canine could highlight critical evidence in a case of this nature. The record will reflect their unique contribution." Cameras clicked and reporters whispered excitedly. It was clear Liam and Rex had transformed a standard legal proceeding into a moment of unprecedented human-animal collaboration. By the time the session concluded, the hidden clues had been fully revealed. The attorneys, clerks, and officers were still processing the remarkable events. Claire hugged Liam tightly, whispering, "You and Rex did something amazing." Liam, oblivious to the attention, patted Rex's head once more, as if to say, "We did it together." Rex responded with a soft bark, acknowledging the boy's praise. The courtroom had witnessed more than just a child guiding a dog. It had witnessed a demonstration of intelligence, instinct, and the extraordinary bond between human and animal. As the room emptied, reporters swarmed to capture interviews. Officers recorded statements for official files, and Claire finally allowed herself to exhale. The hidden clues had been uncovered, thanks to Liam's intuition and Rex's responsiveness. Maplewood's courtroom would long be remembered as the scene where a toddler and a police dog revealed a truth that adults had overlooked, a testament to bravery, trust, and the power of an unbreakable bond. The moment the courtroom session ended, the story of Liam and Rex had already begun to spread beyond Maplewood, carrying with it a sense of awe and wonder. News crews crowded around the courthouse steps, microphones thrust toward Claire as she cradled her son in her arms. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing the boy's wide-eyed innocence and the loyal German shepherd who sat calmly beside them. For Claire, it was overwhelming. The fear, pride, and amazement she felt all collided at once. Her tiny son had become a national symbol of courage, trust, and extraordinary connection. Reporters clamored for sound bites, their questions a blur. "How did you feel when you realized Liam was safe? What do you think of Rex's incredible actions? Is this something you knew your son could do?" Claire answered each question as best she could, smiling through tears. "He's brave," she said simply. "And Rex is more than just a dog. They understand each other in a way I can't explain." Liam, oblivious to the attention, reached out to Rex, patting his fur and babbling excitedly. The dog responded with gentle nudges, perfectly attuned to the boy's energy. Social media erupted within hours. The footage from the courtroom went viral, with millions of views in a single day. Headlines read, "3-year-old talks to police dog in court," "Toddler and K9 solve hidden clues," and "Miraculous bond captivates nation." Experts across the country weighed in, debating whether Liam's communication with Rex was instinct, training, or something extraordinary. Child psychologists praised his courage, animal behaviorists marveled at Rex's responsiveness, and ordinary people were simply captivated by the heartwarming story. Within the community of Maplewood, the story brought an overwhelming sense of pride and awe. Neighbors who had witnessed the initial rescue shared the footage with friends and family. Local businesses decorated their windows with signs of encouragement for Liam and Rex. Schools discussed the event, highlighting bravery, empathy, and trust in their lessons. For a town that had always moved at a quiet pace, the past weeks had transformed it into the epicenter of a remarkable narrative of human and animal connection. Even within the police department, the emotional impact was profound. Officers who had worked alongside Rex for years admitted they had never seen him operate at such a level of intuition. Sergeant Daniels, a seasoned veteran, reflected privately on the event. "I've seen dogs save lives before," he said softly. "But this is something different. This is a partnership. Something pure, something extraordinary." Officer Ramirez nodded in agreement. "It's not just about training or instinct. It's the bond, the understanding, the trust. That dog and that boy. They're a team unlike any I've ever known." As the footage continued to circulate, families across the country shared their own stories of pets and children. Inspired by the undeniable connection between Liam and Rex, messages poured into the O'Connor household. Letters, emails, social media posts. People marveled at the courage of a toddler and the loyalty of a dog. Parents expressed admiration for Claire's calm presence, and animal lovers hailed Rex as a hero. The emotional resonance of the story transcended age, profession, and geography. It was a narrative that spoke to something universal: trust, empathy, and the invisible bonds that connect us all. Claire, overwhelmed but proud, reflected on the journey from that morning in the park to the courtroom. She remembered the fear when Liam had wandered off, the frantic calls for help, and the relief when Rex had located him. She thought about the quiet moments at the police station, where her son's gestures and babbling had revealed hidden clues. And now, seeing the national attention, she realized the depth of what had happened. It was not just a rescue, it was a demonstration of the extraordinary potential of human-animal communication. Liam himself, unaware of the magnitude of his actions, continued to interact with Rex. He babbled and pointed, and the dog responded patiently, acknowledging the boy's gestures as if understanding every word. Officers, reporters, and onlookers watched in fascination. It was a quiet, tender reminder that extraordinary things often come from the simplest acts: trust, attention, and connection. The emotional impact of their bond was palpable, leaving everyone who witnessed it forever changed. The judge who had overseen the courtroom session also expressed her amazement publicly. In a brief statement to the media, she said, "I have presided over many cases in my career, but none have compared to the events I witnessed today. A child and a dog demonstrated intelligence, intuition, and bravery in a way that words cannot fully capture. It is a rare privilege to witness such a bond, and I believe the nation will be inspired by it." Her words only added to the emotional resonance, elevating the story from local interest to national fascination. Meanwhile, the media coverage expanded to include in-depth interviews with animal behavior experts, child psychologists, and canine trainers. Analysts dissected the footage, marveling at Rex's responsiveness and Liam's clarity of intention. Scientists debated the possible mechanisms behind the communication, acknowledging the remarkable synergy between the toddler and the dog. Television segments featured slow-motion analysis, highlighting subtle gestures and responsive movements that most observers might have missed. Every detail reinforced the awe-inspiring nature of their interaction. In Maplewood, the story fostered a sense of unity and inspiration. Local residents shared their own experiences with pets, children, and moments of unexplainable connection. Schools organized assemblies to discuss bravery and empathy, inspired by Liam's actions. Families came together to celebrate the extraordinary story unfolding in their community. And throughout it all, Liam remained blissfully unaware of the attention, focused instead on the gentle presence of Rex, his unwavering companion. By the end of the week, the emotional impact had spread far and wide. National news outlets ran feature stories. Social media channels were flooded with commentary, and experts debated the significance of the communication between child and dog. Yet amid the widespread attention, one thing remained clear. The bond between Liam and Rex was real, genuine, and awe-inspiring. It transcended age, species, and logic, resonating deeply with anyone who witnessed it. As the sun set over Maplewood, Claire held her son close, reflecting on the incredible journey from fear to discovery, from panic to awe. Liam babbled happily, patting Rex's head, completely unaware of the hearts he had touched nationwide. Rex rested patiently beside them, alert but calm, the embodiment of loyalty and understanding. The emotional impact of that morning, the rescue, the courtroom demonstration, and the hidden clues would be remembered for years to come. A testament to courage, trust, and the extraordinary power of connection. And in the quiet moments, when the cameras were gone and the attention faded, Claire realized something profound. Her son had not only survived an ordeal, but had inspired a nation, showing that bravery and empathy can come in the smallest, most unexpected forms. Liam and Rex had forged a bond that was unbreakable, a partnership that would remain a beacon of hope, wonder, and emotional resonance for everyone who heard their story. Weeks after the courtroom event, the story of Liam and Rex had captured the hearts of a nation. News outlets ran feature segments. Social media was flooded with videos of the toddler communicating with the police dog. And experts in psychology, animal behavior, and child development debated the extraordinary phenomenon. But beyond the fascination and analysis, the story had touched something deeper, the pure, undeniable bond between a child and a dog, a connection that transcended words and logic. For Claire and Liam, the whirlwind of attention was both thrilling and surreal. The local police department, initially just documenting the events, soon became the epicenter of national attention. Sergeant Daniels and Officer Ramirez were invited to speak on morning shows, explaining the unprecedented behavior of Rex and the intuitive guidance of Liam. The footage, which had already gone viral, was analyzed in slow motion to highlight every gesture, every nod, every paw movement that revealed the unique partnership. Analysts marveled at how Liam's gestures, seemingly random babble to an outsider, elicited precise responses from the dog. It wasn't long before the mayor of Maplewood announced a public ceremony to honor both Liam and Rex. The town square was decorated with banners, balloons, and an official plaque commemorating the extraordinary rescue and courtroom demonstration. Families, neighbors, and visitors from nearby towns gathered, eager to witness the heroes in person. Liam, now more accustomed to attention, but still a curious 3-year-old, clutched Rex's fur while his mother guided him through the crowd. The dog remained calm and attentive, as if understanding the significance of the day without needing explanation. The mayor approached the podium, adjusting the microphone. "Today, we celebrate courage, trust, and an extraordinary bond," he said. "Liam and Rex have reminded us all that heroism comes in all shapes and sizes, and that understanding can be found in the most unexpected places." The crowd erupted in applause, and Claire felt tears well up in her eyes. She held Liam close, whispering, "You did this, baby. You and Rex did something amazing." Liam giggled, patting the dog gently, entirely unaware of the profound effect his actions had on so many. National recognition followed quickly. Invitations poured in for interviews, television appearances, and magazine features. But more than media attention, Liam and Rex inspired programs in schools and community centers. Educators used the story to teach children about empathy, trust, and courage. Canine trainers incorporated the footage into lessons about instinct, bonding, and communication. The story even reached lawmakers, who cited the rescue as an example of community vigilance and the importance of public safety measures. Claire marveled at the attention, balancing pride and caution. She wanted Liam to remain just a normal child, free to explore, play, and grow. Yet she understood that their story had touched people in ways she couldn't have imagined. "It's incredible," she said softly to Sergeant Daniels during a private conversation. "He's just a little boy, and yet people see something extraordinary in him." Daniels nodded, reflecting on the journey from the park rescue to the courtroom. "Sometimes the smallest among us can teach the biggest lessons," he said. "And that boy, he's extraordinary." The emotional impact extended far beyond Maplewood. Families across the country wrote to Claire, sharing stories of their own pets and children, inspired by Liam's bravery and Rex's loyalty. Animal welfare organizations highlighted Rex as a model canine, demonstrating the intelligence and empathy possible in well-trained dogs. The public was captivated not just by the rescue, but by the silent, profound communication between a human child and an animal, a reminder of the unseen connections that exist all around us. In the months that followed, Liam and Rex received official honors. A ceremony at the state capitol recognized Rex for his heroism and loyalty, while Liam received a symbolic commendation for bravery and composure. Photographs captured the toddler smiling at his dog, hands resting on Rex's strong back, while dignitaries praised their courage. Claire, overwhelmed with pride, understood that this moment would remain etched in memory, both for her family and for the countless people inspired by their story. Yet, amid the accolades and attention, the most important bond remained private and personal. Liam and Rex continued to spend their days together, exploring the park, playing games, and enjoying the quiet moments that had always defined their relationship. For Liam, Rex was more than a hero, he was a companion, a teacher, and a friend. And for Rex, Liam was the small human who spoke in a language only he could understand, whose gestures guided and comforted him. Their connection, forged through courage, trust, and empathy, had transcended circumstance and become something timeless. The story even reached classrooms and research labs. Child development specialists analyzed the footage, noting Liam's precise gestures and the dog's responsive movements. Some theorized that the interaction demonstrated a unique cognitive bond. Others emphasized the instinctual intelligence of K9 units trained for search and rescue. Whatever the interpretation, the lesson was clear. Empathy, trust, and courage could create understanding in ways that defied conventional logic. The story became a touchstone for discussions about human-animal communication, resilience, and the unexpected ways heroism can manifest. Maplewood, once a quiet town, now embraced its newfound place in the national narrative. Streets echoed with chatter about the hero toddler and his faithful dog. Community members shared their own stories of courage and trust. Inspired by the simple yet profound acts of a 3-year-old and a canine, schools dedicated lessons to the rescue, encouraging students to recognize bravery and empathy in everyday life. The event became a symbol of hope, unity, and the extraordinary power of connection, showing that even the smallest individuals could make a profound impact. Years later, as Liam grew older, he would occasionally look back at the videos of that remarkable day. The courtroom footage, the park rescue, the hidden clues, all were reminders of a bond that transcended words. Rex, now older but still vigilant, remained a constant companion, embodying loyalty, courage, and intuition. Claire often watched them together, marveling at the journey from a terrifying morning in the park to national recognition, understanding that what had started as a simple rescue had become a story of inspiration for millions. And in the hearts of all who had witnessed the events, whether in the courtroom, on the steps of the police station, or through screens across the country, Liam and Rex would always symbolize something greater than themselves: the courage to face the unknown, the trust to communicate without words, and the reminder that extraordinary connections often emerge in the simplest, most innocent forms. Maplewood would never forget the day a 3-year-old spoke to a police dog in court, and neither would the nation. As the sun set over the town, Claire held Liam in her arms once more, watching him pat Rex gently on the head. The toddler babbled happily, unaware of the awe he had inspired, while Rex rested calmly, ears perked, tail wagging softly. In that quiet moment, the story came full circle. From fear to rescue, from courtrooms to national recognition, from chaos to calm, Liam and Rex had shown the world something truly remarkable: that courage, trust, and love could bridge any gap, even the gap between human and animal.